Brooke here. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about what it takes to de-escalate conflict and understanding how we can contribute or pull back from that conflict and help to settle things down. The problem with a lot of what's happening in the world today is that we tend to not be aware of how our brains function in conflict and how when we feel threatened, what's happening inside of our brains. And there's some people that do have some awareness of it, but they're not really clear about how that is affecting them personally. So it's something I teach every day in my practice. It's something I talk about with when I do my speaking engagements. But I'm going to give you an opportunity to hear it firsthand from me in this environment where there's so many people that are just livid over the number of people that are caught up in these conflictual situations and end up dead. And I'm also feeling reeling from the impact of all of that. And what I wanted to help you guys understand is that you can have some impact on it when you understand what's happening. Because in a situation when there's police officers and civilians, especially if you happen to be a civilian of color, is that there tends to be a rising of a feeling of threat on both sides. The police officers feel threatened, and of course the citizens feel threatened. And so then what happens when we feel threatened, and those of you who've watched my videos before know that this is a model of your brain, and what happens is this old brain, this reptilian brain, that's where our fight, flight, freeze, automatic reflex for survival is back in this part of our brain that formed first in utero, in our mama, and it fires off automatic responses that tell us that we are in danger and we need to do something about it. And then it sends messages to the center of our brain, the part of our brain that formed next, which is the mammalian brain, the part of our brain that is we have in common with our pets, why we love our cats and dogs so much, because they're pure emotion. So that's the emotional centers. And then we have our new brain, which is where our logical thought is, our ability to solve problems, think things through, be rational, logical, have language skills even, and even understand more about what's actually happening in our environment. That all is up here in this new brain. But what happens when we feel threatened is this old brain fires off chemical messages to the midbrain. We're flooded with emotions, and the new brain shuts down. When that happens, we're not able to think logically. We're not able to work things through in a rational way. We can't problem solve in the way that we normally could. We end up saying and doing things that are irrational. That's why when you watch these videos and you're like, why is that person acting like that? It makes no sense. Because it doesn't make sense. This old brain is reacting out of fear. And that those fear messages tell us to do a couple of things. First off, it sees us as the victim or potential victim. We feel afraid, trapped, overwhelmed, helpless, hopeless, terrified, horrible feelings that nobody likes to feel. So when we get stuck in that feeling, the old brain says, okay, I got to get out of this. This is not going to work. Can't stay here. And it sends us these messages about how to survive that situation. And it's being very primitive, only knows really two things, either to go into what I call rescue mode or go into self-protect mode. And the self-protect mode looks like rising your voice or your physical presence, trying to dominate physically, verbally, trying to get power and control of the situation by dominance. Or it can also be just like shutting down and going behind a wall. We also could go into rescue mode, which is to please, placate, try to please, and make everything better. And honestly, when there's a gun pointed at you, that is probably the best place to go. Because you have to understand that when you go into that self-protect mode and you start to raise your voice, start to go into that self-protective, angry place, it's going to set the other person off and make them feel like they have to retaliate in the same way. So whether you're a police officer or you're a citizen or whatever is the situation, when you're in a conflict and you see another person starting to escalate into that self-protective place, you have to do something different. You can't meet them at the same place they're at, or you're going to end up dead perhaps. And I don't want to see that happen to anyone. It's a ridiculous thing to have happening in our country every day. We see it in I think it's happened for a long time. It's just that because we now have the technology and social media, we're now seeing it and we can no longer be in denial about it. So we have to learn, with the knowledge that we now have, how to respond differently. So the first thing to do is to recognize what's happening. The second thing to do is take ownership of the situation, and that gets us out of feeling like a victim when we can take ownership. And the moment that you take ownership, you go, okay, what can I do in this moment to make this better? What can I do in this moment to walk away alive, and for all of the people in this situation to walk away alive? So first off, you begin by recognizing that everybody is scared, that we're all scared. When we're in a conflict situation like that, everybody there is afraid and perhaps not thinking logically. And so when you recognize that, then you can kind of step back a little and have some empathy for that person. That pulls you out of that self-protective place if you have some empathy for the person that's in the conflict with you. And then if you are respectful of yourself and the other person, you work to keep yourself calm so that when you respond in a way that is not self-protective, that is not aggressive, but that is going to help you both remain alive and get through the conflict in a way that is supportive and helpful to everyone involved. That's my prayer, is that you can all find peace in your heart and step back and settle. And I know in those instances when those things are happening, they're happening so fast. You just have to have your first instinct to take ownership of the situation and have some empathy for both parties and do what you can to de-escalate, to calm yourself, to calm the other person. Recognize that the other person is afraid as well, whether it's a police officer that's the other person or a citizen that is the other person. Just calm yourself down. Calm the other person down, especially if the other person happens to have a weapon, because if they have a weapon, there's no telling what can happen. That's my message for today. If you want to know more about me and about the things that I'm talking about, I have a book. It's called Oh Wow, This Changes Everything. It's a copy of my book. It's available on Amazon and on Kindle. You can also get it on Audible. So if you don't want to read, you can just listen to it. You can find out more about me at melodybrooke.com. Talk to you later. Bye.